Gasps echoed. Who's that? Na billionaire wife be that? Leo didn't flinch. Pastor, let's continue. This is my bride. The pastor adjusted his glasses. But sir, she's not dressed. I'll double your fee, Leo said firmly. Marry us now. Emma leaned close, smirking. Oga, you sure say na real wedding we dey do so? He whispered back. Just play your part. The ceremony resumed. Emma recited her vows with playful boldness. When asked if she would honor and cherish him, she grinned and said, For 30 million? I go try small. Laughter rolled through the hall. Rings were exchanged. A brief kiss. Cameras flashed. Social media ignited. The driver opened the Rolls-Royce door. Emma slid in with a dramatic sigh. In so life be? Pepsi seller today, billionaire wife tomorrow. Just like film. Leo said nothing. He stared out the window as the car rolled toward Banana Island, his private estate. Emma's mouth fell open. Jehovah, God of all flesh, she muttered. Marble tiles gleamed. Fountains danced. Chandeliers glowed through towering windows. The automatic doors hissed open like magic. She stepped out slowly, eyes wide. This one, nah house or museum? Leo ignored her, walking ahead. Emma followed, spinning in every direction. Chai, see kitchen. If person fry plantain here, it go taste like hotel food. She ran her fingers across the marble counter, then gasped. Ah, see elevator inside house. Oga, you get lift inside house? See wet and money they do, oh. Emma muttered, wide-eyed as she examined the sleek interior. Leo finally turned to face her. You'll be staying in the guest wing. Left corridor, second door. Everything you need is there. Emma raised a brow. You dey fear me. I don't mix business with pleasure, he replied flatly. Good. I know like kiss man way behave like robot, she shot back. They stared at each other, two strangers from different worlds bound by circumstance. The silence stretched. Finally, Emma broke it with a low whistle. Anyway, Shah, I go chop small rice if Una get. Leo gave a tired sigh and walked upstairs. Emma twirled slowly in the grand foyer. Emma, oh, woo! Billionaire wife, she whispered to herself. He still dey be like dream. She kicked off her rubber slippers at the base of the grand staircase. But make nobody try nonsense. I be street. I know to carry last. And so fire entered the palace. Not in diamonds or pearls, but with street wit, raw confidence, and a heart untouched by opulence. Meanwhile, Leo sat in the lounge sipping whiskey. That's when the sound of high heels echoed across the marble. Leo! A cheerful voice rang out. He looked up. Amelia Usu, his younger sister, strutted in wearing a leopard print jumpsuit and oversized sunglasses. Stylish, flamboyant, and never subtle. I heard you got married today, to a stranger no less. She flopped onto the velvet couch. Where is she? Guest room, Leo said dryly. She needed time to adjust. Amelia rolled her eyes. You're unbelievable. Bring her out. I need to meet my new sister-in-law. As if summoned, Emma walked in, still in her dusty jeans and faded blouse, her braids gathered in a loose bun. Amelia blinked. Oh, wow. You weren't joking. Nice to meet you, Emma said calmly, standing her ground. Amelia jumped up and hugged her. I love your energy already, but darling, you need help. You can't be seen next to Leo Usu looking like this. Emma pulled back slightly, eyes narrowing. Excuse me? Leo stood up. Amelia, don't... No, let her talk, Emma interrupted. If I need fixing, I'd rather hear it now. Amelia raised both hands playfully. Relax, I'm just saying. You've got potential, but you need a little polish, new wardrobe, makeup, maybe a few etiquette classes. Leo scoffed. You make it sound like she's a statue you're molding. Emma turned to him. And you sound like a man who thinks money equals class. Let's not forget, you begged me to marry you. His jaw tightened. Begged? Watch your mouth. I'll watch it if you respect it, she fired back. Amelia clapped slowly. Oh, I'm going to love this marriage. Leo glared at them both. Just don't turn my house into a circus. Emma folded her arms. Then stop treating your wife like a stray you picked up on the road. Their eyes locked. The tension was electric. Amelia smiled. Can I take her shopping tomorrow? Leo waved a dismissive hand. Do whatever you want. Emma smirked. Good, because I'm not your project, I'm your equal, whether you like it or not. The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of the West Wing, bathing Emma in golden light. She blinked awake, stretched, and sighed. Despite the luxury, the bed didn't feel like hers. Everything was too clean, too perfect, too silent. It lacked the comforting noise, the familiar chaos of her old life. A soft knock came at the door. Not a maid. Come in, she called. The cathedral shimmered beneath golden sunlight that filtered through stained glass, illuminating the gold accents lining every aisle. Guests from Lagos elite filled the pews, draped in imported lace, gilded jewelry, and agatada, whispering behind elegant fans and glowing phone screens. All eyes were fixed on the altar, where billionaire Leo Usu stood in a tailored tuxedo, glancing at his diamond-studded wristwatch for the third time. Beside him stood Mary, his bride, glowing in an off-shoulder ivory gown. Her makeup glistened under the light, and her veil trailed like mist behind her. The officiating pastor cleared his throat, flipping through his Bible. Shall we proceed to the vows? Mary smiled gently, raising a manicured hand. Excuse me, I need to use the restroom. I'll be right back. The congregation chuckled politely. Leo's expression tightened. Are you serious? He whispered. I just need a minute, she said, squeezing his hand. I'll be back before you say I do. She turned and glided down the aisle. The laughter faded. 10 minutes passed. Then 15. Leo shifted, uneasy. Go check on her, he murmured to his best man. Dio returned moments later, eyes grim. She's not in the bathroom. In fact, she's not in the building. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones buzzed. Mary's bridal train stood frozen in place. She didn't, Leo muttered. She wouldn't. But she did. Panic surged through him as he stormed out of the cathedral, dodging reporters and flashing cameras. He yanked out his phone, dialing Mary again and again. No answer. She had disappeared. She vanished, her maid of honor stammered. I don't know why. She didn't say anything. An hour later, the church stood nearly empty. Gossip spread through Lagos faster than Leo could reach his Rolls Royce. Reporters swarmed. Mary's name trended online. Where to, sir? The driver asked quietly. Leo's voice was sharp. Anywhere but here. As they drove through the city's mainland, Leo stared blankly out the window. The woman who was meant to complete his image of perfection had humiliated him, vanished without explanation. The great Leo Usu left at the altar. He ordered the driver to pull over on a quiet street. Stepping out, he loosened his tuxedo jacket and leaned against the car, his pride shattered. For the first time, he looked utterly lost. That's when he saw her. Laughter rang out from across the street. A small suya stand was surrounded by young men, and at its side stood a woman with tightly braided hair, a fitted blouse tucked into faded jeans, and a voice that cut through the air. If you know say you want extra meat, carry your rubber and pay jar. You think say na charity I dey run. The boys burst into laughter as she handed out skewers of meat. A soft drink cooler hung from her waist. She teased her customers as she worked. Joseph, you dey look me like say I be Jolliffe. Na only Jolliffe? I beg, carry your change. Leo blinked. There was something magnetic about her, not the refined beauty he was used to, but raw, unfiltered confidence. Who is she? He asked aloud. Emma, the driver answered without being prompted. She dey here steady, sells drinks, braids hair, washes clothes. No nonsense, babe, fierce like pepper. Emma tossed a bottle to a small boy running by. Tell your mama say Emma say thank you for that Ara yesterday. Leo couldn't help but smile faintly. He stepped forward, ignoring the dust beneath his shoes. She noticed him immediately. Uncle, I beg, I no get change for 5 ko'o. I'm not here for drinks, Leo replied. She squinted. Then you dey block my breeze. Shift small, he chuckled. I want to speak with you, privately. Talk wettin'? You think say I be runs girl? No, he said seriously. I want you to be my wife. The street went silent. Even the Danfo buses seemed to pause. Then Emma laughed, a deep, thunderous sound. You know chop craze? Which kind talk be this? I'll pay you. 30 million naira, marriage on paper, a few appearances, some events. You live your life, I live mine. I just need a wife, immediately. She narrowed her eyes. So you go pay me 30 million, make I be trophy wife? Yes, no expectations, no touching, just the role. You can walk away after 6 months, fully paid. She looked him over like a market woman inspecting suspicious yam. Cash or transfer? Any way you want it, he said, smirking. She grinned. Oga billionaire, you just hired yourself a wife. And just like that, the deal was made. Between wounded pride and fierce street fire, a strange new chapter began. An hour later, they were back at the cathedral. The wedding planner, the pastor, and a few lingering guests stared in stunned silence. Leo marched up the aisle again, not with Mary, but with Emma, still in her blouse, worn jeans and rubber slippers. Her drink cooler sat abandoned in the back seat of the Rolls-Royce. You're my wife now, Leo said, voice like steel. I expect certain standards. Emma folded her arms. Wife or prisoner? You're not on the street anymore, Emma. Behave like you belong here. She stepped forward, eyes blazing. Don't you dare throw that in my face. You found me because your perfect little bride ran away. I'm not Mary, and I'll never be. I know, Leo replied coldly. Mary knew her place. A glass slammed off the side table, shattering on the floor. Water splashed across the tiles. Congratulations, Emma snapped. You married a woman who doesn't know her place and never will. Leo stepped closer, the space between them thick with heat and fury. Careful, Emma. You're playing a dangerous game. She didn't flinch. I've played worse. Try me. A long silence fell. Their breasts were heavy, stubborn. He studied her, messy curls, flashing eyes, raw defiance. Then he chuckled, dry and dark. Maybe I made a mistake. Emma raised her chin. Then fix it. Divorce me. But you won't. You're too proud. Without another word, Leo turned on his heel. Breakfast, 15 minutes. Emma stood there, heart racing, fury tightening her jaw. Downstairs, the maids kept their eyes down as Leo swept past like a storm. Amelia sat cross-legged at the dining table in a silk robe, sipping orange juice with an amused smile. Someone woke up spicy, she teased. Leo ignored her, pouring coffee with more force than necessary. Moments later, Emma entered, wearing one of Amelia's bold, body-hugging dresses. Her natural curls were untamed, her glare sharp as glass. She sat without a word. Amelia grinned. This is going to be fun. Later in the sitting room, Leo stood by the tall bay window, one hand in his pocket, the other slowly swirling a glass of scotch, despite the early hour. The weight of silence clung to the room. Emma entered, still in one of Amelia's lounge dresses. Her wild hair flowed free, no makeup, no pretense. She looked like she didn't belong and made no apology for it. Leo turned to face her. His gaze swept over her like a silent judgment. We'll be hosting a post-wedding dinner this evening, he said, tone clipped. Important guests. You need to look the part. Emma crossed her arms. What's wrong with how I look? He scoffed. Everything. Her jaw tightened. I'm not Mary. I'm aware, he replied coolly, which is exactly why you need help. She stepped closer, eyes narrowed. If this is about your reputation, it is, he cut in sharply, and mine is worth 30 million naira. Get yourself together. Emma clenched her fists. Then you should have bought a mannequin, not a wife. The sun's rays played off the cathedral's stained glass windows, bathing the altar in multicolored light. Gilded patterns shone along the aisles. High society dressed in lace, agathata, and gold whispered behind fans and smartphones. All eyes were on the altar, where billionaire Leo, in an immaculate tuxedo, checked his diamond-studded watch for the third time. Next to him stood the bride, Mary, radiant in an ivory off-the-shoulder gown. Her makeup made her skin seem luminous, and her veil fell softly behind her like morning mist. The pastor cleared his throat, leafing through the Bible. Shall we begin the vows? Mary smiled and raised her hand. Excuse me, I need to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. There was a chuckle in the room. Leo frowned. Are you serious? He whispered. Just a minute, Mary replied, squeezing his hand. I'll be back before you say I do. She turned and walked down the aisle. The laughter died down. 10 minutes passed. 15. Leo was getting nervous. Check, he muttered to the best man. The best man returned, frowning. She's not in the bathroom. In fact, she's not in the church. A murmur swept through the room. Guests whispered, phones buzzed. The bridesmaids froze. She couldn't have, Leo muttered, but she could, and she did. He walked outside, furious, ignoring the reporters. He dialed her number. No answer. She just disappeared, he barked at the bridesmaid. I don't know anything. She didn't say anything. An hour later, the church was empty. Gossip was already circulating the streets of Lagos as Leo climbed into his Rolls-Royce. Where are we going, sir? The driver asked. Anywhere, just not here. On the mainland, Leo stared out the window in silence. The woman who was supposed to decorate his perfect image had disgraced him. The great Leo, abandoned without explanation. He ordered the car to stop in an alley and, unbuttoning his jacket, got out. His pride was shattered. For the first time, he looked lost. And then he saw her. A group of guys stood laughing at a kiosk selling suya. Nearby was a woman with pigtails and a tight blouse and faded jeans. Her voice was loud and confident. Bro, if you want more meat, pay. This is not charity. The boys laughed as they got their drinks. The woman, Emma, was pouring drinks from a cooler tied to her waist. Joseph, do you think I'm your Jollof? Ha! Not this time. Leo stared. She wasn't like the women he usually hung out with. There was something wild, free, and alluring about her. Who is she? He muttered. Emma, the driver answered. She can do everything. Braid hair, wash clothes, sell. A feisty girl. She tossed the bottle to the running boy. Tell your mother. Emma, thanks for yesterday. Leo smiled involuntarily. He came closer. She noticed him right away. Hey, uncle, do you have change for 5KO? I'm not here for drinks, Leo said. Then don't block the wind. Step aside. He chuckled. I need to talk. Alone. Do you think I'm a night butterfly? Nonbada. I want you to be my wife. The street froze. Are you nuts? Emma laughed. I'll pay you 30 million. Marriage on paper. Appearance in public. No strings attached. Divorce in 6 months. The money is yours. She narrowed her eyes. Cash or into an account? As you say. Then congratulations, Olga the billionaire. You just hired yourself a wife. Breakfast in 15 minutes. Leo threw the words out like an order and left, leaving Emma standing there, breathing heavily. This is going to be a war, she thought. Downstairs, the maids pretended not to hear, but their looks said otherwise. Leo had passed by like a storm. Amelia was already sitting in the kitchen in a silk robe, casually sipping orange juice. Someone's up for a sip today, she said with a smile. Leo said nothing and poured himself some coffee. A minute later, Emma came in, wearing one of Amelia's daring dresses, tight, bright, inappropriate, especially against the backdrop of her tousled curls and a look that was splashed with defiance. She sat down at the table in silence. Amelia smiled. This is going to be fun. Later, in the living room, Leo stood by the picture window, one hand in his pocket, a glass of scotch in the other, though it was barely noon. He turned as Emma walked in, dressed as Amelia again, no makeup, her hair still loose and wild. She looked out of place in this luxurious setting, but she made no apologies. We're having a wedding dinner tonight, he said evenly. There will be important people. You have to look the part. What's wrong with my appearance? Emma crossed her arms. Everything, he chuckled. Her eyes flashed. I'm not Mary. I know. That's why you need help. She came closer. If it's because of your reputation... Yes, he interrupted. And it's worth 30 million naira. Get yourself together. Emma clenched her fists. Before Leo could say anything, Amelia burst into the room, holding the phone to her ear. Her heels clicked on the polished floor. Already arranged, she said with a smile. Emma, darling, we're about to work a miracle. I didn't agree to this, Emma muttered. Amelia waved her hand. Darling, we're saving your life. I called the stylist. He's bringing 5 outfits in your size. I told him, wasp waist, sky-high legs, fire mood. You'll thank me later. I won't, Emma snapped. Amelia ignored her, typing something on her phone again. The makeup artists are on their way. You'll be transformed faster than Leo can say etiquette. At that moment, 2 assistants entered the room with clothing bags and a mobile makeup station. Get to work, people, Amelia clapped her hands. The living room turned into a fashion whirlwind. Emma sat down in a chair, squinting at the young makeup artist with pigtails who began to apply foundation. This is absurd, she muttered. This is not absurd, Amelia corrected her, lifting up the emerald dress. This is a rebirth. Trust me, Leo, even though he is a cold iceberg, he will melt when he sees you today. The stylist pulled out high heels that looked more like weapons. I can't walk in these, Emma said. You'll learn, Amelia grinned. We're not just dressing you up for the evening. We're writing a new story. You're not a guest in Leo's life. You're the headline. Emma rolled her eyes, but the corners of her lips still twitched into a smile. Headline, huh? Front page, Amelia winked. When the last curl was secured and the lip gloss applied, Emma didn't recognize herself in the mirror. Strong, bright, unforgiving. And you think I don't understand your English better than half your friends? She said with a grin. But when life hits you, survival mode kicks in. What kind of pronunciation can you have when the lights are on every other time and your landlord is knocking on your door asking for rent? Leo looked at her, amazed. There was fire in her voice again. All this time, he whispered. All this time, she nodded. I just didn't have the luxury of playing with accents when I was living on the edge. He ran his hand through his hair. So you were pretending all this time? I wasn't pretending, she snapped. I was surviving. She pointed to herself, well-groomed, refined. That's me too, just a different facet. One woman, 2 sides. There was silence, thick and tense. You confuse me, he said quietly. And you infuriate me, she grinned. And as if on cue, thunder rumbled in the distance. Emma raised her eyes to the sky. I'm going to bed, she said, taking her glass. As she was leaving, he called out, Emma! She stopped but didn't turn around. You surprised me today. Her voice was soft but firm. Get used to it. She left, her robe fluttering like a royal robe as she walked back into the house. He turned around. You still owe me 30 million naira. His eye twitched. Seriously? I'm not kidding. Her voice was even. You said 30 million. I did my part. I'm your wife. Now do yours. He snorted. You'll get it. When? When I get back from the office. She came closer, looking him straight in the eye. I'm not a trophy from the street. I'm your wife. But I'm not a slave. Pay me as you promised. It all starts with respect. He clenched his jaw, about to make a sarcastic remark, but something in her gaze stopped him. He silently took the keys. Okay, and walked out. Emma exhaled and returned to the stove. Oh my, this man is a problem, but he'll learn, she muttered. The house was especially quiet after he left, but Emma liked the silence. She poured herself some cold water, leaned against the marble countertop, and took a long sip. Her gaze slid over the spacious living room with its polished floor, impeccable decor, and expensive furniture that seemed unnecessary. Everything is so beautiful, and there's no joy in it, she sighed. After finishing breakfast, she cleaned up the kitchen and wandered around the house barefoot, like a tourist in a private museum. She stopped at a glass display case with awards and magazine clippings about Leo's achievements. Yes, he was successful, but that didn't give him the right to buy her dignity. She walked up the marble stairs and into the bedroom, inhaling the scent of cedar and cologne. His side of the wardrobe was impeccably tailored suits, silk ties, leather shoes. Her side was empty hangers. Amelia, have your stylist hurry up, she muttered, walking up to the mirror. She paused, looking at her reflection. Emma, you're beautiful even without the glamour. No deception. Meanwhile, in the Ekoi skyscraper, in the boardroom, Leo was clearly uncomfortable. He sat at the head of the glass table, and the board members watched him. But his thoughts were far away. Mr. Someone addressed him. Leo blinked. Yes? "Do you agree with the forecast for the third quarter?" He cleared his throat. "Yes, go on." At home, Emma was sprawled on the couch, lazily flipping through channels. She stopped at a talk show about influential women in Nigeria and whispered with a smile, "Soon they'll add my name too." She reached for her phone and dialed an old friend. "Nen, guess what happened? I married a billionaire. No joke. Only he's proud as a lion." They both laughed. Outside, Lagos hummed with its usual noise. But in Leo's mansion, two storms were preparing to collide, unexpected and inevitable. Leo returned home earlier than usual. The driver stopped at the wide entrance, and he got out, still in a perfectly fitting dark blue suit. He entered the house with his briefcase and saw Emma sprawled on the couch in a long cotton dress. She was leafing through a fashion magazine left by Amelia. "Good morning," he said briefly. Emma looked up, raising an eyebrow. "Good morning," she replied without getting up. He took an envelope out of his briefcase and placed it on the table between them. "You're 30 million. I don't owe anyone." Emma didn't even flinch. She carefully took the envelope, opened it, and slowly took out the check. She looked up. "That's how billionaires pay." "I keep my word," he answered, turning and heading for the stairs. A little later, Amelia burst into the mansion with a stylist and two personal shoppers. Bags, clothes, cosmetics. Her energy filled the house like sunlight. "Emma," she shouted from the doorway, "we're changing everything. When I'm done, even Leo won't recognize you." Emma laughed. "The main thing is that I recognize myself." The guest room's dressing room had become a catwalk. Outfit after outfit. Designer dresses, stylish jumpsuits, stilettos, exquisite jewelry. The makeup was a sophisticated, soft glamour. A new woman was reflected in the mirror. Leo watched silently from the living room, sipping his tea and occasionally peeking out from behind his magazine when he heard Emma's laughter. Later that evening, Emma and Amelia returned from the opening of the art exhibition, cheerful, loaded with purchases, laughing. Leo sat in the corner, a cup of tea and a folded magazine in his hand. Amelia glanced at him. "Brother, today we created a goddess." Emma grinned and glanced at him. "I hope you approve, Olga." He lifted his cup. "You look impressive," and again buried his nose in the magazine. But something had changed. The next morning, long before Leo had gotten out of bed, Emma was already in town. She had spent her $30 wisely, renting a space in a busy area and starting to furnish it. A few days later, there was a freshly painted facade in warm tones with a bright sign, V Haven, where taste meets style. Inside, there were dark wood floors, crystal chandeliers, velvet chairs, and gilded dishes. Emma had put her heart and soul into the restaurant. She hired 5 waiters, 2 cooks, and a manager. Everything was thought out to the smallest detail. Burgundy jackets, black trousers, gold badges, polished shoes. The owner herself wore an elegant burgundy jumpsuit with gold trim, her hair pulled back into a sleek bun. At the opening, the restaurant was immediately filled with customers, and Emma became a star. "Who ordered asun with jollof?" she shouted cheerfully, balancing with a tray, sliding between the tables. "And don't forget our coconut rice, tastier than first love." Laughter filled the room. Her energy was infectious. But as soon as she served customers, she immediately switched to impeccable English. "Good afternoon, sir. Enjoy your meal. I hope the peppers are not too hot. Let me know if anything needs to be adjusted." The staff admired her. "Aunt V, too, really knows how to run the place," one waiter whispered to another. "She has the street and class in one bottle." During the break, Emma gathered her team. "Listen, treat each customer as if our fate depended on them," she smiled. "But don't overdo it. If someone starts showing off, let them know right away. We will not swallow humiliation for the sake of a tip." Then she changed her tone. "And remember, this is a prestigious establishment. Cleanliness, etiquette, confidence. Let's show them what it means to dine according to the V's Haven standard." As the sun set, the restaurant was bathed in soft golden light. Emma stood at the entrance, arms crossed, watching with a proud smile as the flow of customers continued. This was no longer just a business, it was a legacy. The aroma of fried sea bass and buttery plantains wafted through the room. Emma stood behind the polished counter. In her elegant restaurant, Emma's Haven, crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, filling the room with warm light. Fresh flowers on every table, menus in leather covers. Waiters in wine-red uniforms with gold embroidery moved confidently and gracefully. The doorbell rang. Amelia entered as always in her signature look, a high-fashion dress jacket, ankle boots, a stylish handbag on her wrist. They settled down by the window in a cozy booth. A bucket of chilled sparkling water was already on the table. I have to admit, Emma, this place is amazing. You've created a miracle with your 30 million. Thank you. It was exhausting, but it's my dream, Emma answered, quieter than usual. They sipped their wine and spoke in perfect English, the topics flowing smoothly from gastronomy to business, until Amelia lowered her voice. I spoke to Mary a few days ago. Emma's eyebrow arched. Really? Why did she run away like that? Leaving Leo at the altar? She said she couldn't stand his arrogance anymore, that he was belittling, controlling, and disrespectful. That this wasn't love anymore, it was theater. Emma leaned back in her chair, her eyes narrowing. I'm not surprised, Amelia sighed. Yes, he's arrogant, I admit. But there's a softness underneath all that arrogance. I've seen it. And lately, Emma, she leaned closer. I think he's falling in love with you. Emma blinked. At me? I see the way he looks at you. Silently, thoughtfully, as if he can't understand how someone so different could turn his world upside down. Emma chuckled and shook her head. I'm not going to fall in love with a man just because he looks at me like a ghost at a throne. He still needs to learn to respect me. Amelia smiled. Maybe, but he needs a woman who can fight back. Mary had broken under pressure. And you're fighting back. They clinked their glasses lightly, a silent understanding filling the atmosphere of the restaurant. We'll see who breaks first, Emma said quietly, a spark in her eyes. Or who gives in, Amelia whispered. They laughed quietly, unaware of how closely fate had been listening to their conversation. The sun was setting, painting the sky a soft gold, when Emma entered Leo's luxurious mansion. The clicks of her heels echoed on the marble floor of the hall. Her uniform, stylish, embroidered with the restaurant's logo, gracefully accentuated her figure. Her face was alight with the day's success, and she carried a thin handbag. She had expected silence, perhaps solitude. But today was different. In the living room on a cream leather sofa, Leo sat with one leg crossed over the other, a book lying closed in his lap, and a cup of tea steamed on a glass table nearby. As she passed the arch, he raised his head and looked at her. There was something elusive in his gaze. Emma, he said. His voice was calm, calmer than she had ever heard it. She turned, slightly surprised. Yes? He stood up, put the book down, and came closer. His gaze was focused, his face unusually sincere. I've been watching you, he began, without mockery, without arrogance. Your transformation, your restaurant. It's impressive. She blinked, not believing her ears. I'm proud of what you've done, and I like it. For you. Emma's lips parted in surprise. The words, the intonation, the respect. This was not the Leo she'd argued with just a few days ago. This was a man speaking with quiet admiration. Are you proud of me? He nodded confidently. Yes, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. There was a rare, but not oppressive silence. Then he calmly turned and headed up the stairs. Halfway there, he turned around, as if he wanted to add something, but changed his mind. Emma remained standing in the hallway, her heart filled with a strange feeling. For the first time, she was seen, not for her appearance or strength of character, but for her efforts, for her true self. In her room, lying on her bed, she looked at the ceiling for a long time, with a slight smile on her lips. Maybe, she whispered, he's not so heartless. And for the first time since entering Leo's world, she allowed herself to feel something warm, something frighteningly close to love. That evening, Leo sat alone in his bedroom. The lights were dim. All the noise of the outside world was outside the silence. A framed photograph lay on his lap, a snapshot of Mary, the bride who had once walked away. He stared at the image for a long time. She had been beautiful that day. Her ivory white dress, her reserved, slightly nervous smile. He remembered every detail, how she had gone to the ladies' room and never returned. For months, he had hidden his humiliation behind a mask of pride. But now with Emma, the woman whose quiet strength kept him grounded, he allowed himself to feel it. He picked up the phone and dialed. 1 ring, 2. Leo. Her voice was calm, cold. He took a deep breath. Mary, I'm sorry. I treated you like a trophy, not a partner. I was pushing, controlling. I thought I loved you, but in reality, I loved only myself. There was a pause. Then she answered evenly. Leo, you were arrogant. You never listened. You loved the image of the perfect woman, not me. But now, I'm in a better place, emotionally, and I don't regret leaving. I hope you've changed. The cathedral glowed under the sunlight, streaming through stained glass windows, gold trimmings lining every aisle. High society sat adorned in imported lace, guile and agatada, whispering behind hand fans and iPhones. All eyes were on the altar where billionaire Leo Aosu stood in his designer tuxedo, checking his diamond-studded wristwatch for the 3rd time. Mary, his bride, stood beside him, radiant in an off-shoulder ivory gown. Her skin shimmered under the makeup, and her veil trailed behind her like mist. The officiating pastor cleared his throat, flipping through his Bible. Shall we proceed to the vows? Mary smiled, then gently raised her hand. Excuse me, I need to use the bathroom. I'll be right back. The congregation laughed lightly. Leo's eyes narrowed. You're serious? He whispered. I just need a minute, Mary said, squeezing his hand. I'll be back before you say I do. She turned and glided down the aisle. The laughter faded. 10 minutes passed. 15. Leo shifted uncomfortably. Do check on her, he muttered to his best man. Dio returned, brows furrowed. She's not in the bathroom. In fact, she's not in the church at all. Whispers erupted among the guests. Phones buzzed. Mary's bridal train stood frozen. She didn't, Leo muttered. She wouldn't. But she did. Panic surged. Leo stormed outside, ignoring reporters and photographers. He yanked his phone from his pocket, dialing Mary again. No answer. She just vanished. Leo barked at her maid of honor. Vanished? I don't know. She said nothing to me. An hour later, the church was nearly empty. Gossip had spilled into the streets of Lagos before Leo could reach his Rolls-Royce. Reporters were circling, and Mary's name was trending. Sir, where to? His driver asked. Leo snapped. Anywhere but here. As they drove through the mainland, Leo stared blankly out the window. The woman who was supposed to complete his image of perfection had humiliated him. The mighty Leo Usu dumped without a trace. He told the driver to pull over at a quiet street corner. He stepped out and leaned against the car, unfastening the buttons of his tux jacket. His pride was wounded, and for the first time, he looked lost. And that's when he saw her. Laughter rang out across the street. A group of young men huddled around a small suya stand, and beside it stood a woman with tightly braided hair, a form-fitting blouse tucked into faded jeans, and a loud voice that commanded attention. Guy, if you know one, pay for extra meat, carry your rubber, and go. You think a charity I run? The men burst into laughter as the suya seller handed over sticks. The woman, Emma, held a soft drink cooler strapped to her waist. She teased the boys as she served them. Whitten day, Joseph. You look me like I be Yolof. No be only Yolof. No party rice. She joked and the boys roared. Leo blinked. There was a confidence about her, not the polished elegance of the women he dated, but something fierce, raw, and utterly magnetic. Who is she? He murmured aloud. Emma, the driver answered without being asked. She's always here, does everything, sells drinks, braids hair, washes clothes, no nonsense, babe. Fierce like fire. Emma tossed a bottle to a little boy running past. Tell your mama. Say, Emma, say thank you for that aura yesterday. Leo's lips twitched. He found himself walking toward her, ignoring the dusty pavement under his leather shoes. She noticed him instantly. Hey, uncle, I beg. I know. Get change for 5 KO. I'm not here for drinks, Leo said. She squinted at him. Then you block my breeze. Shift small. He chuckled. I want to talk to you privately. She folded her arms. Talk wettin'. You think, say, I be Run's girl? No, he said seriously. I want you to be my wife. The street went silent. Even the Danfo buses seemed to pause. Emma laughed like thunder. You didn't chop madness. Which kind? Yay, joke B, that I'll pay you 30 million naira straight marriage on paper. Public appearances, a few events you keep your life, I keep mine, but I need a wife immediately. She stared at him, so you go pay me 30 million. Make I be trophy, yes, but you'll also be respected. I won't touch you. No expectations, just the role you can walk away after 6 months. Full payment, no stress. Emma looked him over like a trader examining yam. 30 million cash or transfer? She asked. Leo smirked. Any way you want it. She grinned. Oh gab billionaire, you just hired yourself a wife. And with that, the deal was struck. Between pride and fire, arrogance and streetwise grit, it would be the beginning of something neither of them expected. They were back at the cathedral within the hour. The wedding planner, pastor, and a few curious onlookers lingered like whispers in a storm.